In today's Leeds news, Leeds take it or leave it Charles offer, Brandt talks continue, Gray wants promotion, and Leeds move quickly on James Trafford. Thursday, the 23rd of July, Jer here at the Leeds View with your daily Leeds United news. We do these Monday to Friday, as well as 2 podcasts a week and a transfer wrap up at the weekend. If you want to support the channel, the best ways to do that are to like and subscribe on YouTube or on the audio channels to give us a follow and a channel rating. There's a lot of stuff to get stuck into today. Some similar players at similar ground because Leeds are clearly focused on a handful of players right now to try and get them done, which lines up exactly with what Pragmarat they said earlier this summer. And also we did a podcast last night with Steve Carlisle around the SCR situation. You can check all that out. Thanks to everyone that watched it and the positive comments there. We did our best to try and clear it up. And just to box off one very clear thing, SCR is calculated over a 12-month period. PSR was calculated over a 3-year period. There's a lot of legal jargon and ins and outs on this as well, but it's worth checking out if you want to. Also, the FCA award nominations close on the 5th of August. If you do want to nominate us for that, there's a QR code there. And there's a link down below in the description. And we will have a watch along for the Leeds Wrexham game on late Saturday night, starting at midnight over on bigup.com if you want to join us for that. Right, let's start off and get stuck into today's news because there's a lot. We're going to do Shay Charles. We're going to get it away. I know people are getting bored with it. I'm getting bored with it. But we cover all Leeds news. So if it's in the news, we got to cover it. I'll give you the detail, but this could be coming to a very abrupt end. So yesterday we said that the involvement of Fulham in the race to sign Shea Charles would likely speed this up and bring it towards a natural conclusion. And that seems to be the case. Leeds were unlikely to get involved in a bidding war and probably walk away. And as of last night, that became Leeds' exact stance on the situation. Leeds' pursuit of Shea Charles has now reached an endpoint. And Leeds, if anything else right now, appear to be calling Southampton's bluff, if they are indeed bluffing, and that's all around the feed that they want. They're looking for between 25 and 30 million pounds, depending on what you believe that's out there in the media and who you listen to. But the most recent piece of news on this is Leeds are said in the last 2 days to have gone back in with a third and final bid of 24 million pounds, despite the fact that Fulham have been labelled as preparing a bid of 24 million pounds. As of the time of recording, Fulham haven't actually placed that bid on the table just yet. Still preparing the paperwork, obviously, on that one. So Southampton then have received that bid and they are believed to have rejected it. So Leeds third and what is being labelled as final bid for Shea Charles has been rejected. But Leeds are clear on the situation around this. Take it or leave it. That offer remains on the table. If you want to come back to it, we're open to talk about it. If you're not, we're out. Leeds have made it really clear that this is the final offer, and Leeds are now moving on to other targets in that position. Now, the interesting part about this is, and I'm going to keep using poker analogies for this, because that's where we are with this. Charles has got 1 year left on his current contract at Southampton. Given everything that's going on at the club, their manager potentially looking at a suspension for up to 6 months, depending on what the EFL decide to do, or in their Spygate situation, they might have to sack him then and bring in another manager. Shea Charles seems incredibly unlikely to sign an extension to that contract that he's got right now. He's got Premier League clubs sniffing around him, and he might just decide, I'm only 22, I'll wait till the end of the season, and I'll walk for nothing, and Southampton won't get a penny. And you could see a situation with Leeds like Harry Wilson this year, where Shea Charles rocks up the Thorpe Arch this time next year for absolutely nothing. So unless Fulham get involved in this and put a bid in, it seems like this is over to Southampton to make a decision. And on the Fulham thing as well, given that Leeds have very clearly put in a final offer for Shea Charles, why would Fulham go beyond that? I mean, Fulham could just go 24.5 million, 25 million for the player to try and get him, and basically just say to Southampton, they're the only offers you've got. He's got 12 months left on his contract. He'll go for free next year, or at the very minimum, he'll leave in January for a significantly cut price deal than what you're potentially getting right now. And I think it's a really clever move by Leeds to do this. Leeds are playing hardball, and they should play hardball. They shouldn't just accept whatever the asking price is. That's what we value them at. That's what we're offering. Your hand isn't that strong when you consider who's involved in this and what's left on his contract. And Leeds are, as I say, calling Southampton's bluff on this. If you want 30 million quid and that's all you're willing to take, fine. There's the offer. We'll see how we get on. So the key line, though, that came out of all of this yesterday for me was Leeds have moved on to other targets. They're clearly looking at other central defensive midfield upgrades, which means Ilya Groove is likely to make way at some point. He's got 1 year left on his current Leeds United contract, so that seems to be one area that they are looking at. Mandela Keita was linked, although Graham Smith said there was nothing in it. He was a player Leeds had looked at, liked, but hadn't moved for. Maybe they move for him now, or a player similar to him. Either way, unless Southampton fold, and that's my last poker analogy in this situation, Shay Charles could move for a free transfer next season, but at the very least, Leeds' interest in Shea Charles has paused or stopped completely for a little bit anyway, so we won't have to talk about this one for much longer unless Southampton come back to the table. We'll have to see. Let's move on. The next one is Julian Brandt, and again, as I say, they're the same names, but these are Leeds targets and they're primary targets as well. Brandt is seen as one of 3 key signings for Leeds United this summer, along with James Trafford. And new reports today from iPaper claim that talks are ongoing between Leeds and Julian Brandt's agent, his father Jurgen, and he's been to Thorpe Arch, as we know already, but he's also been back apparently to view the training ground and the facilities again. So Leeds see Brandt as a major market opportunity because he's a free transfer and because he would normally cost them in and around 20 million quid based on what he has done in the Bundesliga, and they'll get him for nothing this summer now. So iPaper, similar to reports that came out from Team Doc, so maybe there's more in that than we actually initially thought from them, say that Leeds United are bullish on this deal and they're confident of trying to get a deal done here, but they do recognise there is still stiff competition and it's not a one-horse race at all. Now, outside of the longer-term deal that Leeds have offered Julian Brandt that he might not get from other Premier League clubs, one of the main selling points of this is lack of competition in the number 10 position, which would mean he would get significant amounts of game time. Leeds' only real competition in that position is Brendan Aronson. Similar to Ilya Groove, he's got 1 year left on his contract. He has gone with the Leeds team to the US for that tour, but no talk of a new deal with Brendan Aronson just yet, and nothing on the table by all accounts. So Leeds might be looking at just upgrading that, and Brendan Aronson may move on. He might not either. He might stick around as a competition. The fact that he's into his final 12 months and Leeds are looking at a Julian Brandt means Leeds are probably looking at upgrading that position. Either way on this, the talks, I said, they'd be still ongoing. Positive talks being held. There is competition there, but Leeds feel good about this one. And again, as I said yesterday, will be a terrific signing for me if they can get it done. That's the one, along with James Trafford, to keep an eye on. And we'll talk about him in a couple of seconds. Before we get to that, let's talk about Archie Gray. And he seems to be settling into life at Sheffield Wednesday pretty well. He talks incredibly well when you hear him on camera. He's got a very mature head on incredibly young shoulders. But he's been talking to the Star in Sheffield about his goals for this season, the move to Sheffield Wednesday. He's made it really, really clear. Get promoted, full stop. That's the goal this season. Not talking about himself, talking about his team. And I wonder where he got that one from. Harry doesn't turn 18 until October. And he hasn't moved that far away from home. In fact, he hasn't had to leave home at all. He is still living at home. Hasn't had to uproot himself and hasn't had to move away from his support network. And that could be very important to him this season as well. But he spoke to the Star about the move and the plan and what went into making this choice. And he said this: there's so many things that come into it, such as location, where you're going to play, how much you're going to play, so many things like that that you've got to take into account. You're not only playing for yourself, you're playing for people's jobs and people that work every week to come and watch you play. You've got to excite them, and ultimately it gives yourself a bit of joy. But however many fans that are watching, they're getting that as well. He was also asked about his own personal goals for this season and what he wants to achieve. And he was very straight up and honest with this. And he said the following: 100% get promoted. That's the goal. That's definitely the aim. I enjoy having pressure to win games and perform well and score goals. When you score your first goal, it's so much easier and takes the weight off your shoulders. And I think if people are putting pressure on you, there's a good reason why they're doing it. I think Sheffield Wednesday is similar to Leeds. When they were in the Championship, you've got to win every game no matter what. And if you're not doing your job. A bit of Roy Keane thrown in there for good measure as well. You don't score goals, you don't win games. That's your job. Get it done. Also, I have to say it about him as well. He shows a huge amount of self-awareness when he is speaking, which isn't that common. It's definitely not something that's common in young players. He's talking about playing for people that are watching the game. He's talking about the club performing so that people can keep their jobs at the club, which is incredible to see that from a young man. You look at Crescencio Somerville, who didn't show up for a flight to Italy yesterday after AS Roma sent the plane to him and instead took the money move to Saudi Arabia. Now, whatever about that decision, but not showing up for a scheduled flight and not letting the club know shows you one player's attitude towards football. And then you see Archie Gray talking about playing for other people and making sure that they perform and win games so that people can keep their jobs and he pleases the fans. For me, shows a huge amount of awareness and maturity. And I think it's a really good characteristics that he's got. We'll cover Harry over the course of Loan Watch this season as well, so you can keep a track on him. Fingers crossed he gets the first goal nice and early and gets that monkey off his back and can just enjoy his time at Sheffield Wednesday and then hopefully come back to Leeds ready to push for a place in the first team in a year or so. Best luck, Harry. Let's move on. The major story to talk about, and this one has taken a massive leap forward in the last couple of hours. As we know, Leeds' interest in James Trafford has been widely reported. Rumours of talks at Manchester City at the weekend have now been confirmed, as well as talks with the player himself. According to Alex Crook at TalkSport, the move for James Trafford is heating up, and the player himself is said to be leaning more and more towards a move to Leeds United, which would suggest that this move is further along than has been reported already earlier this week. Leeds have been very guarded around what information they're giving the local press. Up until now, if they rang the club and said, look, we believe there's a move for this player and you're interested in him, is there any truth in that? Leeds would confirm it. Leeds now only appear to be giving out some bits of information, and if you look into what's been said, that information appears to be a day or two behind the reality of where the situation is right now. And we know why Leeds are doing this. They don't want anybody else to come in and hijack a move because it's being reported in the press. Now, over the weekend, Graham Smith said that Leeds United had held talks with Manchester City. Those talks must have gone pretty well if Leeds have now held talks directly with the player. They're not saying representatives, they're saying player himself. We know City are open to a sale. We know James Trafford wants to move himself, and we know that he is Leeds United's primary target this summer, and a fee of over £30 million will be likely needed to get a deal done. And if reports are out there that they've held talks, then this one could be speeding up rapidly right now. It's a significant move for Leeds. He's the primary target, as we say. Leeds want to get this one done, and speed is going to be really important with this. But what's more significant than Alex Crook getting involved in this is David Ornstein at The Athletic has also gotten involved in this. And if Ornstein has started to report on this, for me, that indicates that this is getting closer and closer to being done. Himself and Romano only tend to get involved and report on these things when it's close to being finalised. I'm not saying it's finalised. I'm saying that that's my opinion on this, just to be really clear after the week we've had. So, Ornstein also says that talks have taken place between the player and Leeds United and the club and Leeds United, and that the player himself, again, is leaning towards a move to Elland Road. So he's confirmed what Alex Crooks has said. Ornstein confirmed that Newcastle did have interest in him earlier this summer, but they're now said to be leaning more towards a move for Zion Suzuki or Carl Rushworth, which could mean that Leeds have an open move for James Trafford if they can get this done quickly. It's incredible to see what's going on at Newcastle right now. Leeds have beaten Newcastle to Mihajlovic, I believe, as well, and now trying to nip in ahead of them to get James Trafford. And whatever's going on at Newcastle, they are not attracting players right now. They also lost a Swiss midfielder to Aston Villa, so there's chaos going on behind the scenes there right now. But I'll go back to this piece. Having David Ornstein report on this, for me, says that this move is far more advanced than has been led on, at least so far. And this could be moving more and more towards being done, especially saying the fact the player is leaning towards a move, which means he might be open to this as an idea to go to the club, but also his personal terms might be agreeable as well. What it means for Lucas Perry is still not clear. Ornstein's kind of reporting that Leeds still see Lucas Perry as a second choice option and Alex Kearns as the third choice option. We'll have to wait and see. But again, if Leeds can move quickly on this and get this over the line before anybody else starts getting involved and turning people's heads, this could be a massive sign for Leeds United. And as has been said with Harry Wilson and Mihajlovic, this could be a real signal of intent by Leeds United this summer. It's going to cost a bit of money, but if you got Mihajlovic, if you got Wilson, if you got Trafford, and if you could also get Julian Brandt, that's a hell of a summer on top of what is a very strong squad right now. And then likely sales are going to happen. Obviously, Max Ferber's gone for a contract termination. We got his wages off the books, which is massively important because they weren't small. We can get Jack Harrison's wages off the books, get maybe a little fee for him. Whoever else leaves the club, that might free up some money to try and bring in fringe players or competition at left back and maybe another midfielder, maybe even another striker. We'll have to wait and see. But it does feel like these are picking up pace right now as Leeds get ready, and they're going to want to have these players in as quickly as they can over the next week or two to try and get them acclimatised. As Joe Rodon said, the sooner you get them in, the sooner they get used to playing with the squad, the better it is then when you get on the pitch when the league starts. So yeah, interesting one, and I think that's a significant story this morning. We'll see how it goes. You can check out last night's podcast with Steve Carlisle talking about SCR and trying to explain that situation as best as we can. They're all scenario-based questions. They're all hypotheticals, by the way. We're not saying anybody is moving or that all the information is factual. It's only what was available at the time of recording. You can check it out over there. Also, if you want to nominate us for the FCA Awards, that link is down below, the QR code down below. Subscribe to the channel, like us, follow us on socials, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.